Chaos Origins is Yu-Gi-Oh! Finally done right. Now make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out more on this content. So Chaos Origins is honestly probably one of the best positive changes that this game has undergone in a very long time. And Konami learned from the deck building packs themselves. I think were a pretty big inspiration for these changes, because they learned the reason why people were building the deck build packs was you could build a deck out of those packs. So because every core set has not been doing so great, Konami finally realized, what if we make it so that you can just buy the core sets and be able to get decks within those packs and be able to, fundamentally have work out. Now, this is going to cause a couple of changes in the game. One, you're going to have more decks being built out of every pack, which, that could be an issue. That means that the meta is going to be changing at a higher pace, because there's going to be more things available to you within each set. Now, if every core set's producing 3 decks, the cover art with potentially 2 more, that means every 3 months we'll have a deck build, so it's 12 decks a year. Also means that they can still highlight and provide older decks support within these sets. Now, we also don't know how the Formula Oli is going to work for, say, side sets. Take a look at what they did with Toons and, Witchcrafter and Unchained. They moved those decks to older products, because they're only printing 7 new cards for each, but those are decks that, one, you probably need to reprint Toon cards at this point to get those into circulation, but that's a different change from the way that the game has structurally been. A little bit of a shift around of those formulas. But Chaos Origins, the TCG, is also going to be introducing the chess theme, which, having my pawns advance to turn into, queens and actually bring me victory in that fight. That could be a problem if it's too splashable, but I don't really think that's going to be the case necessarily. Konami's been doing a great job at they're focusing more on these core sets, and it feels like they're printing more impactful themes and ideas within these sets to get people interested in them. And that's why, kind of going forward here, you're in the new generation. You really have crossed into the era of 2026 card design here, where we're going to be seeing a lot more ideas coming to fruition, and I would almost consider this idea supposed to be the golden age. Now, looking at the first themes that we got, Blackluster Soldier and Dark Demod, we'll probably see some play. You can obviously build that deck as a standalone creature, being able to rotate through the stuff. But, you can kind of combine some older cards into the deck to get better results. Sacred Beast is more standalone, truly, in the way that it functions. And I think Sacred Beast is kind of like the definitive one here, because they overhauled the entire archetype. A lot of the older support doesn't necessarily see play within the deck itself, so that's not too exciting. But then there was the whole inclusion of the new boss monster, which was great. And then of course Blitzclick is able to work as a standalone, but also, much like the first theme, it's going to get better if you want to play things like the Lightning Rod, Raigeki, if you want to play the Thunderclap Monk, depending on which tools that you want to kind of incorporate into the deck strategy, you're going to have way more methods to kind of work with that. So that's kind of an improvement overall. They've done great. And also, Phantom Knight's got 5 cards. It's good to still know that, if we're doing, larger volumes of card design in this, a deck like Phantom Knights can scrape in, get a couple of cards. And also, this is the block where we're doing alternate arts now. I love the fact that when, Konami made Radiant Typhoon, for example, it kind of feels like the new design for certain things kind of started back then, where they could be like, hey, we can take an older theme and we can build around it. That's kind of what we got with Thunder King Ryo with, the Blitzclick. It's the same thing you got with the Phantom Knights. You're making the trap card have an alt art, which is very, very beautiful, by the way. I think that's one of the coolest arts that they have actually been able to push in the game. And I'm kind of looking forward to having this trend keep up. Alt arts, they're not specifically crazy wants from the community, but I think it's cool to see that they're willing to change up the design, print these older cards that go with these themes, and they give you the opportunity to get these straight out of the box, man. Like, not a single soul is going to be upset with, oh, hey, I can get the tools right here handed to me. Sure, like, that's not a problem whatsoever. Is this a positive change for the game? Yes, it is. Core sets have been fundamentally terrible for the longest amount of time in this game. Konami, I think, needed to learn that they needed to change up things. Because like I said, if you've got people over here wanting to buy cases of side sets and you're making 1 to 2 side sets a year and all of your quote-unquote successful products coming from this and your core sets, which are the backbone of the game, are failing, you needed to do a switcheroo on that. And considering the fact that every set is supposed to have potentially 2 to 3, probably 2 to 3 themes going forward, I'm just looking forward to seeing how they're going to do this. And my other interesting question is, like, are we just going to get one wave of support, or are we going to do what we've traditionally done and go into the next set and provide another 1 to 2 cards for each of these themes? Because I think Blitzclick does deserve another 2 cards. I think Sacred Beast deserves another 2 cards. I think Yugi's deck deserves another 1 to 2 cards. But the problem is that takes up potentially 6 slots in the next core set. I mean, every core set's only dealing with 80 cards. And if you're given 33 cards, 11 per theme dedicated to that, half of your set is almost taken away. You don't get a lot of, stuff to mess around with, which means they're going to have to shift the side sets to turning into products to support older products, which is honestly the way it should be. Like, you can overhaul and do things, but overhauling all these archetypes and just making them new feels like you're phasing out old Yu-Gi-Oh! But in the case of what they're doing with Toons, and I specifically bring back up that Revolution booster here, if they are not going to totally do a complete overhaul, but they're willing to still take these themes, incorporate new cards in them, and still allow the older ones to work, you've got a good balancing philosophy here. That means they can actually use the proper reprints, but you gotta up 7 cards isn't enough. Like, I'm sorry, like, you really should be doing 10 cards per archetype to really try to ramp up this production and to get players interested in these upcoming styles of products. So, positive change in the game. Core sets should be fixed going forward. I know wallets are going to cry because they're going to be like, well, do I really have to pick up boxes of every core set, now to try to pull these decks? That's a question that'll depend on rarities. TCG rarity structuring, I mean, we're going to have overframes in the set. We're not going to have grandmasters and core sets. We're not too sure where things are going to change in that department, but we just need to be patient, all right? Be happy that, core sets finally have a little bit of value being looked at here as an option, because frankly, at this point, like, core sets are just a dying breed. And I mean, it's crazy because, like, you cannot have that happen. You cannot have the sets that you produce 4 times a year being bad. So Chaos Origins, looking great. I'm looking forward to seeing where this is going to go. What are you guys looking forward to most out of Chaos Origins? I'm ready to see Thunder just change the entire game, because players just are like, oh, Thunder monsters, what's that? Faster than the lightning, and you are Ottawa no Shindaru. What a great game that we all play. You guys have a good rest of your day. All right, peace out.
Patrons!
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.